I went there, and the used car manager, guy was Larry Henry, great man. He introduced me to a guy that would change my life, Grant Cardone. So he gave me a stack of CDs. He said, okay, go listen to these CDs, and don't come out. You can't talk to anybody till you're done. Back when I was in my early 20s, I was looking to improve my situation. You know, I was working at a call center. I was making 200-300 calls a day, telemarketing, and it was a step up. I'm actually a high school dropout. I dropped out in grade 10. Came from a tough situation. I had to start working in high school to help support my family. So I was working at a call center doing telemarketing. We're selling paper rolls and ribbons, and I was actually making about $2,000 a month. So I said, hey, you know what? I can buy a car. You know, I'm a young guy, 21, 22, I'm looking to buy a car. So I go to a dealership, and the salesman says to me, hey kid, do you have insurance? I'm like, no. Do you have any credit? I'm like, what's credit? I had no clue. He's like, well, check your insurance and then call me back. So, you know, I'm 21, 22 years old, and I priced out insurance. I was looking at a Honda Civic, and it was like, Honda Civic SI was like $600-700. You know, first time being insured, not on my parents' insurance. So I was like, wow. You know, I was only making $1,000-1,100 after taxes every 2 weeks. So, and the car I wanted, you know, was a way out of my league at the time. It was top line Civic SI, $600-700. So I'm like, man, there's no way I could afford this. I always knew I had a knack for sales. I always knew I could make a friend. I was always in sales, even from a teenager. So I knew I would be good at it, but I had to develop the skills. I didn't have the privilege of going to college or university. So I'm like, hey Nick, what can you do? So I started looking for a job. Back then, you'd actually look at the newspaper, this thing called the classified, and there was an ad. It said free training, free company car. So I went to the dealership. Had an interview with the guy. It went well. You know, I didn't even have clothes at the time. I didn't have much. So I went to the mall. I bought a shirt and tie in a box. It was like $10, right? Turquoise shirt, turquoise tie. And the guy offered me the position. And I said, well, you know, what happens if I don't sell any cars? It's like, well, son, it's like any other job, we'll fire you. So I was like, okay. I'm like, well, in order for me to start, I'm like, I require a vehicle and I require insurance. And he's like, sure. I'm like, holy crap. You know, I'm like 21 years old, I got a car, I got insurance, and I get free training. So I show up, you know, I show up there on the Monday. I took a train, a GO train, like a train, like a locomotion. And then I took a cab, right? I had to take 2 stops to get to the dealership that day. I went there, and the used car manager, guy was Larry Henry, great man. He introduced me to a guy that would change my life, Grant Cardone. So he gave me a stack of CDs. He said, okay, go listen to these CDs, and don't come out. You can't talk to anybody till you're done. And I was like, yeah, right. Like, this is my training. This is what's gonna make me, you know, I did the interview. He's like, you can make 6 figures, sky's the limit. You can do all this, your dreams can come true. You know, so I bought what he was selling. And he gave me a stack of CDs. I'm like, yeah, right. I didn't believe it. I'm like, what the hell? Like, is this really gonna work? So I listened to them. I went in the boardroom. I went in some back office. I listened to 15, 20 hours of these CDs, Monday through Friday. And I sold a car like my first day. And being in the business now over 20 years, seeing thousands of salespeople come and go, that's not that common. I sold a car right away. My first month, I made $5,000, which was more money than I ever made in my life. I remember going to the bank, and the teller told me I had to hold my check. I'm like, what do you mean hold my check? Right? It was like a check for like $5,000 or whatever the amount was. And they had to put a hold on it because they didn't have an established history. So that's how I got in the business. And my first year, using the material that I learned in Grant's program, I was able to make 6 figures. My goal at the time, I grew up in a high rise, I grew up in poverty. My goal was to one day own a home that my mother and my father never accomplished. And within 18 months, I saved enough to buy my first property, using the information from that. So the information I used, that I learned, helped me significantly. It helped me build a career, and that really set me on the path for the next 2 decades and create the life. So it was the information that I got then. I used it then every day, and I use it now.